Today we're going to talk about supplies and materials. This is part of engineering project estimate course. First, we'll talk about the difference between supplies and materials. First, supplies are items that are not part of the project, such as measuring devices, driller and hand tools, rope, ladder, etc. While materials are items that become part of the project, such as circuit breakers, transformers, bulbs, wires, and etc. Now, let's talk about pricing. Price quotations are important for project cost estimate and must be updated in order to have a good and fair cost estimate of the project. Quotes in the form of bids are sometimes given for 1 to 5 years with a price list per year. It is incremented to foresee the inflation and other factors affecting the price of supplies and materials. Now, compatible units are often used where the item prices are uniformly converted. So we will see this thing later in the work breakdown structure, how to use compatible units. Now, inventory database are used especially for bigger project, and it is updated by the supply chain administration or management. So it is also important if we study supply chain, so you will deal with the inventory and etc. Now, shipping and handling of materials and supplies. These are packaging, transport, or delivery of the supplies and the materials. These are considered indirect cost if these were not included by the suppliers. Now it needs storage since supplies and materials are not immediately used upon arrival. So therefore, um, storage of these materials and supplies incur expenses, or we call this storage fee. So storage and handling of supplies are considered indirect cost. So you see already supplies are those that are not part of the project, while storage and handling of materials, which are part of the project, are considered overhead direct cost. But most of the time, the storage fee for materials are already included in the pricing of the materials. For example, you have a circuit breaker of 30,000, or let's say for smaller residential circuit breaker, let's say 5,000, and it's already but you don't need to store a smaller circuit breaker. Most of the time for the materials, it's already in the direct cost. Supplies, for example, a big transformer that you need to use, so it needs some storage. Okay, so it will be calculated in the indirect cost. Now these are important to consider when planning and scheduling in the project. Another term we're going to deal is material wastage. Can be defined as the difference between the value of materials delivered on the site and accepted construction, and those properly used as specified and accurately measured in the work. So there's a difference, no? The value of the materials delivered on site and then the actual materials used in the work. After deducting the cost saving of substituted materials transferred elsewhere, unnecessary cost and time may be increased by the material wastage. So, material wastage, in other words, these are the difference of the delivered and the actual. So, for example, incorrect lengths or sizes of wires, cables, and conductors. So there's a difference. So the cables or the wires that arrive on the site are not actually fit, no, to the actual actual setting. And then we also have different nuts and bolts needed for an existing infrastructure, especially if we're dealing with actual renovation or remodeling of a certain building, for example. So maybe the one we ordered for these materials are not fit for the existing infrastructure. So material wastage, it incur in contingency costs, no, if this is suspected, and also sometimes they can return the materials for storage, may not be worth it. Restocking may even be more expensive than scraping it. So therefore, the planners or the cost engineers, they need to really consider the materials and supplies. Uh, okay, so that's the end of this lecture. Uh, Thank you.